After the overwhelming success of the first Resident Evil in 1996, Capcom was eager to go all in on a follow-up. Resident Evil 2 was released in January of 1998 in the US and Japan, with a DualShock-compatible version being released later that year. The game was met with both fan and critical praise for its chilling atmosphere, impressive for its time graphics and audio, and overall fun and fulfilling gameplay. The game focuses on the journey of two new arrivals to the already zombie-infested town of Raccoon City. College student and sister of RE1 protagonist Chris, Claire Redfield, and rookie cop reporting for his first day on the job, Leon Kennedy. Here's everything you didn't know about Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 1.5. Under the helms of director Hideki Kamiya and producer Shinji Mikami, initial development of Resident Evil 2 began just 1 month after the completion of the first Resident Evil in early 1996. The original version of the game was drastically different than its final counterpart. For one, protagonist Claire Redfield was nowhere to be found. Instead, Resident Evil 1.5, as the prototype version has since been dubbed, starred a female biker character named Elza Walker, alongside Raccoon Police Department rookie Leon Kennedy. Unlike in the final game, however, the two-player characters never crossed paths in the story of 1.5. While the gameplay was fairly similar to what would become RE2, there were some key differences between the two versions' mechanics. RE 1.5 featured less puzzles, with a more standard keycard system to unlock new areas. The series' traditional healing herbs were replaced with vials of medicine, and players were able to equip 2 tiers of upgraded armor, an RPD bulletproof vest and high-tech Umbrella Corporation body armor. These would be reflected visually on the character models, and clothing would gradually deteriorate over time to reflect damage. Development reset. RE2 was originally scheduled for a May 1997 release date. The team was experimenting with such concepts as displaying a larger number of zombies on screen at one time, made possible by using lower polygon counts in the models, and even the ability for zombies to mutate over time. However, as the May release date drew closer, no one on the team at Capcom was satisfied with the version of the game they had, with Mikami stating in a later 1998 interview that no one element was specifically boring, just everything as a whole, adding in a different interview that the game simply was no fun. Professional scriptwriter Noboru Sugimura was brought in as a consultant and advised the team to completely restart development to fix the problems. The build was around 60 to 80% complete when it was delayed in February of 1997, pushing the release date back to August, as the game was reworked into what would eventually become the Resident Evil 2 we know and love. The Raccoon Police Station. In the 1.5 build, the Raccoon Police Station was heavily inspired by the 1976 film Assault on Precinct 13, but was seen as visually uninteresting compared to the haunting environments of the Spencer Mansion from the first game. The entire station was redesigned with the new idea that the department was taking up residence in a repurposed museum. The in-universe explanation for this can be discovered in the game, Resident Evil Outbreak File Number 2, where the player can find a document called Marvin's Memo. In the memo, Raccoon City Police Officer Marvin Branagh explains that the Raccoon City Police Department used to be a museum. The location was chosen by the RPD for its central location and parking spaces. The deal was arranged by Chief Brian Irons, another character who debuted in RE2. Marvin goes on to speculate that Chief Irons' art obsession is what prompted the decision. This also explains why there is a giant statue in the lobby of the Raccoon Police Station, fully equipped with a secret passage, as it was used for moving large art pieces in and out of the museum. Marvin and Kendo. Players encounter the characters Marvin Branagh, an RPD officer, and Robert Kendo, a gun shop owner, early on in the scenario of RE2, with both suffering gruesome deaths shortly after their introductions. In the 1.5 build, both characters actually had much larger roles as supporting characters in the overall story. Marvin and Kendo would assist Leon and Elza, respectively, throughout the game, with Marvin even being infected with the G-Virus, instead of Sherry. Another survivor. Another survivor can be found in the Raccoon Police Station in 1.5. Officer Roy. The Raccoon City police officer was another support character that helped Elza in her playthrough, but was completely removed from the reworked RE2 that was eventually released. There's a popular misconception that Roy's name was originally supposed to be DJ. This is an error likely caused by an early character sheet where his name is handwritten in Japanese and appears similarly to the Roman letters D and J. Sega Saturn version. Capcom initially planned to ship Resident Evil 2 for Sega's ill-fated Saturn console, but due to the system's poor sales, they ultimately decided against development. The series had previously appeared on the platform, however. A version of the original Resident Evil was released for the Saturn in 1997, featuring new costumes, a new enemy type, a reskinned hunter, a second tyrant battle, and a battle mode featuring a zombified version of series villain Albert Wesker. There has been no footage of the Saturn version of Resident Evil 2 ever released, as it most likely never made it very far into development. Nintendo 64 port. Resident Evil 2 was built specifically with the PlayStation hardware in mind, shipping on 2 CD-ROMs, each capable of holding 700 megabytes of data. In comparison, the largest Nintendo 64 cartridge could only hold 64 megabytes of data, as the name implies. The N64 port of the game was handled by a small team of developers called Angel Studios, which would eventually become Rockstar San Diego. By using every trick they could think of, from constantly switching resolutions to using a whole new sound system, the team achieved the seemingly impossible by somehow fitting the massive game on a 64-bit cartridge with only a minimal drop in quality. Impressive as this was, they were also able to add some new features, such as an item randomizer, a new control scheme, and new in-game files that connect to other titles in the series. Audio oversight. Originally, the PlayStation release was intended to ship on a single disc. At the last minute, however, the team realized that due to the size of audio files, the game could not fit on a single 700 megabyte disc. Due to already being behind schedule, it was too late to reprogram the audio algorithms, and RE2 would have to be shipped as a 2-disc game, meaning higher manufacturing and shipping costs on an already tight budget. The Hunter. Resident Evil 2 marked the introduction of one of the most iconic enemies in series history with the terrifying Licker. But one classic enemy from Resident Evil 1 was missing from the game: the Hunter. One can be found, however, in the N64 version of the game. By entering the B4F Culture Room, a dead hunter can be found lying on the ground, making it the only hunter appearance in the game. The T-00. One of the most iconic characters from RE2 is the T-00, a tyrant and formidable opponent capable of utterly devastating players with his bare hands. In earlier concepts for the character, Capcom had planned on making the foe even more of a nightmare, as he was meant to wield a giant machine gun as well. Though they decided against it in the end, the idea was repurposed onto the Nemesis T-type in Resident Evil 3. Interestingly, players can still sometimes find different types of ammunition by examining his down body in RE2. Street Fighter reference. At the beginning of the A scenario, while running through the streets on your way to Kendo's gun shop, there is a store called Iruka's. This is the name of Street Fighter regular Sakura backwards, a small nod to one of Capcom's other most popular franchises. JoJo's Bizarre Cameo. Another hidden Easter egg can be found when the player first meets Marvin in the A scenario. He can be found resting against a locker in the Raccoon Police Station, and on the locker is a name tag that reads JoJo. This is a reference to the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Capcom developed a game based on the anime, which was also released in 1998, the same year as RE2. The Shining's influence. A nod to the horror classic The Shining can be found in Resident Evil 2, with the word Red Rum scrawled on one of the walls. Another well-known RE location was also inspired by the Stephen King work, the Spencer Mansion from the original Resident Evil. The Erie Mansion was influenced by King's similarly haunting Overlook Hotel. George A. Romero. The godfather of zombies himself, George Romero has a few ties to the Resident Evil series. The renowned horror director worked with Capcom on a short television advertisement for the game, for the Japanese market prior to its release. While never shown in the West, the commercial captured the harrowing atmosphere and setting of the sequel and its zombie-infested streets. The positive reception of the commercial may have been what led Romero to be considered to direct the live-action movie adaptation of Resident Evil in the early 2000s. Unfortunately, these plans fell through, and we never got to see what Romero's version of an RE movie would have looked like. The Secret Gate. In Resident Evil 2, players enter the police station through side entrances, but in RE3, Protagonist Jill Valentine uses the main gate to enter the building. This entrance can, however, actually be seen in RE2. By killing the zombies in the courtyard and heading towards the station's gate, a secret viewpoint can be triggered which reveals the main gate. Although zombies can be seen on the other side, players cannot open the gate. It's just a fun Easter egg. That was everything you didn't know about Resident Evil 2. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the 15th channel for more videos like this, and hit the notification bell to make sure to be notified whenever we release a new one. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.